Emily Brontë, A Mind Not Made for This World. Emily Jane Brontë. Born on the 30th of July 1818 in Thornton, West Yorkshire, occupies a singular and windswept peak in the landscape of English literature. Best known for her only novel, Wuthering Heights, she has become both an icon of creative genius and a subject of endless speculation. Unlike her more socially fluent sister Charlotte, Emily remains something of a literary ghost, brilliant, strange, and utterly uninterested in the conventions of her age. Through a life shaped by grief, solitude, and an intense interior world, Emily Brontë wrote with a power that continues to astonish readers nearly 2 centuries later. Childhood, loss, libraries, and landscapes. Emily's childhood was steeped in both loss and imagination. Her mother, Maria, died of cancer when Emily was only 3 years old. 2 of her elder sisters, Maria and Elizabeth, succumbed to illness while at the infamous clergy daughters' school at Cowan Bridge, a school so grim that it inspired the fictional Lowood in Jane Eyre. The remaining Brontë children, Charlotte, Branwell, Emily and Anne, were subsequently educated at home in the Haworth parsonage, a place perched on the edge of the Yorkshire moors and surrounded by graveyards, wind, and the vast, untamed landscape that would shape Emily's imagination. Denied the normal social circles of the time, the Brontë siblings retreated into worlds of their own invention. Emily, along with Anne, created the imaginary kingdom of Gondal, a place of political intrigue, doomed love, and Gothic grandeur. These fantasy realms were more than just child's play. They were early laboratories of creativity where Emily honed her skills in plotting, poetry, and emotional intensity. The Gondal saga became a lifelong obsession, and Emily's contributions to it suggest a remarkable depth of imagination and commitment. A reluctant governess, an unwilling exile. As she reached adulthood, Emily made a few half-hearted attempts to conform to societal expectations. She briefly worked as a governess, a position she found utterly miserable. Her letters from this period are few, but what survives suggests a quiet resistance to the external world and a deep, persistent homesickness. In 1842, Emily and Charlotte travelled to Brussels to attend the Pensionnat Heger, with the eventual hope of opening a school back in England. Emily loathed the experience. She disliked the food, the culture, the people, and, most of all, the separation from her beloved moors. She returned to Haworth less than a year later, never again to leave for any extended period. For Emily, the outside world was a foreign country. Home was the only nation she recognised, the artist in seclusion. Despite her reclusive lifestyle, Emily was fiercely productive. In 1846, she and her sisters published a joint collection of poems under the pseudonyms Currer, Ellis, and Acton Bell. Emily's poems, dark and elemental, stood out for their lyricism and power, even if only 2 copies of the book were sold. The following year, she completed Wuthering Heights. It was published in 1847 to a mix of confusion, horror, and begrudging admiration. Victorian critics were scandalised by its ferocity and moral ambiguity. Readers accustomed to neat morality tales were presented instead with a novel of wild passion, emotional violence, and a hero, Heathcliff, who was more monster than man. But Emily had no interest in tidying up human nature for polite society. Her novel was as raw and untamed as the landscape she loved. It was not just a story, it was a reckoning, a singular personality. To understand Emily Brontë is to enter a mind wholly uninterested in conformity. She was deeply private, emotionally intense, and almost defiantly indifferent to public opinion. She had little patience for superficiality and rarely spoke in company, often disappearing from rooms when guests arrived. Legacy. Emily Brontë wrote only 1 novel, but that single astonishing work has placed her among the immortals of literature. Wuthering Heights was misunderstood in her time, but is now regarded as a masterpiece of structure, voice, and emotional force. It is a book that defies categorization, part Gothic, part romance, part existential meditation on the destructiveness of love and the hunger of the human soul. Her poetry, too, has gained posthumous recognition. In her verses, Emily confronts themes of death, nature, eternity, and the divine with clarity and power. Her voice is elemental, not confessional or social, but mythic. She was not a chronicler of tea-room dramas, but a cartographer of the soul's darker regions. Emily Brontë lived a life of near monastic seclusion, yet she left behind a novel that has never gone out of print and continues to inspire adaptations, debates, and passionate readers. In an age of selfies and status updates, her profound indifference to fame and fashion seems almost radical. Perhaps Charlotte said it best. Emily was a solitude-loving raven, fierce and unbending, a genius who needed only wind, ink, and silence to write herself into eternity. Let the world buzz as it will, Emily Brontë will always remain the quiet, haunting presence on the edge of the literary moor, watching, writing, and no doubt judging us just a little.